Boom! And we are live.
Right.
How the devil are we?
I am so good, my friend. I miss you so much. How are you?
Miss you loads as well. It's been ages. It's been, was it 6 months, isn't it? What month are we? June. Yeah, six
It
months.
has, yeah. Nearly
Yeah,
six
it's gone
months.
very quick. So, for context, you are in Australia, in Gold Coast, and I'm in Swansea. Just for anyone who's listening who might not know the location. Sarah, would you like to give yourself a little intro? Actually, no, well, do an intro and also the stuff that we were just talking or you were just talking about before we got started. Do you want to repeat that? Because that was a little gem.
Yeah, okay, right. So, as Ryan has said, I am Sarah Maxwell. I'll definitely do a better job introducing myself than you would, so thank you for that. I live in Australia, I live on the Gold Coast, and I'm a self love and mindset coach. I have my own business, which I have worked in for a year and a half now. And I also work in social work part time as well, which is, yes, awesome. So, yeah, Ryan and I were just getting stuck right into the juicy stuff before we even started recording. And I read out a quote that I read today, and it says that someone who is self motivated and average will always outperform a genius who can't get going. And I was just explaining to Ryan that it makes me think a lot about myself because I have worked in the social sector for the last 10 years. Since I was 17, I got my first job as a youth worker. And sometimes my self doubt leaves me holding myself back. It's something that I'm working on. We're all working through our shit, right? And I see people that have way less experience and they are doing more and it's happening faster for them because they believe in themselves. And I'm like, fuck, I've got to keep up. So, yeah, that is just where we were at. I'll say that again. Someone who is self motivated and average will always outperform a genius who can't get going. Boom.
Action is the most important thing, 100%. Yeah, like it's. Do you know? I really do envy people. I would say I'm probably half and half, but there's some people out there who they come up with an idea and they can just run with it and they just and just do pretty much any idea that comes up and straight away, even if it doesn't end up working, they've actually given it a go. And I feel like I'm not quite there. But yeah, I do envy people who can just go out there and do it.
Yeah, 100%. Another one that another quote that I heard today on a podcast is that it is better to be consistently good than occasionally great. So I interpreted
Consistently
that as
good
like it's
rather than
better.
occasionally great.
Yeah. So it's better to have a morning routine that has a 10-minute journaling session and a 10-minute workout every day than to do two 90-minute workouts a week. So it's better to be consistently good than occasionally great.
That ties in really well with I can't remember the name of the guy. So he did a podcast with Joe Rogan, and he was talking about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in particular. They were talking about, but he said he only goes about 50 to 60% capacity when he goes in and does a session. So like he'll go in and he'll do whatever with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu 60%, and then he walks out and he says he's got a bit of a sweat on, he's feeling a bit knackered, but he's not completely dead. Whereas he said most of the other guys, or some of the other guys there, they just go balls to the wall 100%, and then they might get 2 or 3 sessions in a week. Whereas he's able to go 5, 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, because he's not going at that full capacity. And when you work it out over the course of, a year, he said that it works out as actual like weeks and weeks worth of extra training that he's gotten just by doing the extra, little bit less intensity, but more consistently over time. And he said, you might not notice it over a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but then by the time you've got a year or 2 years in, he said you are miles better than those people who've been going, at that higher intensity, purely just down to the fact you've had more hours in the gym.
Yeah, wow. That's
I suppose
basically
that
the
kind
same
of
point that
ties
I'm
in
making,
quick.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of ties
Absolutely.
in with it really well. So the last
That's one of the
podcast we
topics that
did
we
was
wanted to
about two
speak
years
about.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. I was going to say we'll get. Well, I was going to say we'll get on to that. I was going to mention the last podcast we did was about. It was about 2 years ago. Because a lot has changed for you since then. Because like I was looking at the title of it earlier on, and you were doing the youth work back then. I know you're still doing the youth work now, but you stepped back a little bit. You started doing your own stuff as well. You were still doing the blog back then, but now, well, you're still doing the blog now. But you just got other things going on. I was going to ask you what like was the defining moment in terms of stepping back from work and actually going fully, well, not fully self-employed, but sort of like doing the coaching in addition to what you're doing now. What was the sort of like the trigger almost?
I guess, like, the life that I love to live. Like, you're my friend, obviously, but like, that I love to be able to just go to the beach whenever I want, or work from a cafe, or be outdoors. Like, that is when I am most inspired. Like, that's where all the good shit comes from. And I think, like, getting to dip my toe into that being my life, like maybe going from one day of having that a week to being like, actually, I want more of that. Like, seeing how I could live my life and how aligned it could feel was like, oh my God, I need more of that. And I created a vision board around that time that we would have done our last podcast about 2 years ago. And it was very much around living the life that I'm living now, like working from cafes, having my morning routine, watching the sunrise and working out, and like all the small things that like just really light me up. They were all on my vision board for like how I wanted to live my ideal average day. And yeah, getting to slowly start to dip my toe into that life, I was like, yes, I want more. Like, I want more of that. Like, how do I get more of that and move away from what isn't lighting me up as much? And so, yeah, I guess I just carried on trying to find more one-on-one clients so that I could step away from the world of work more. So now I only work 2 days a week in my social work job, which I love because it does keep me current. Like I'm still, on top of like current legislation, and like working with other people in that field is great because you get to bounce ideas around. Like, working by yourself, as for your own business, it can be quite lonely and quite isolating, and you don't always have people to bounce ideas around with. But yeah, staying in that just for that 2 days at the moment, it still really serves me, and it provides like lots of learning and development opportunities as well. So yeah, having those 3 days is just, it lights me up. And like knowing that 2 years ago I created a vision board based on the life that I'm living now is like, wow, okay, where do I want to be in the next 2 years? What's my next vision board going to look like?
It's really nice when you see it come into fruition like that, isn't it? Because it's, I think, I don't know if you've experienced this as well. Did you have like a sort of a penny drop moment where you kind of maybe just sitting at the beach or whatever, doing like what you said there, maybe working off a laptop on the beach or next to the beach, and then just kind of go, fucking hell, like this is what I've been visualizing. Like, I'm actually sort of, because I think we take it for granted. Like, I've done it a few times where I've had a laptop and I've been working from the hut, or I've done like client calls when I've been down in Newgale camping, and I'm sitting there with my little camping chair and camping table and stuff doing the call, and because it was just business, it was just day to day. I was kind of like, just doing it. But then when I was reflecting on it afterwards, it was like that penny drop moment where I was like, shit, this is actually like an amazing sort of, not opportunity. What's the word I'm looking for? It's just nice to know that you've kind of taken those risks and you can actually go and do that and, live life on your terms, your own terms a little bit more. So it was a few penny drop moments. Was there anything like that you can think of?
It's so weird that you've mentioned that. I was walking on the beach with a friend earlier, and they were complaining about where they were at now, and I was like, holy shit, like, this is actually what we visualize our lives to be like a year ago. So like, be grateful for where you're at, because a year ago you wanted this life. Like, this is what you were desperate for a year ago. So like, yeah, we're always going to find things to complain about, but like, be grateful for where you're at, because this is what you manifested. Like, a year ago you would have been desperate to be where you are now. And I think a moment for me was when I found my vision board, because I've moved not so long ago. I moved house from Sydney to the Gold Coast, and I found my vision board, and then I was looking at it And I was like, oh my God, yes, 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 yes. Yeah, that was like a little, yeah, it's like a pinch me moment, isn't it? Or like you said, a penny drop moment where you're like, oh my God, I did the thing. And I do this with clients as well. It is one of the first sessions that I like to do with them, alongside getting clear on your values, is to get clear on the ideal average day that you want to live. So not like your ideal fantasy day where you want to like, live in Ibiza or live in Bali or whatever. Like, what is your ideal average day that you want to be living in a year from now? And I think it's really helpful to go through that and to consider that, because 90% of my clients, when they first come to me, have never even considered the life that they want to be living. They are literally just trying to survive every day. Like, how can I survive today? Right, okay, thank fuck that's done. What's on tomorrow? How can I survive today? Like, just going through that, like trying to survive each day, rather than going, okay, what actually do I want from this life? Like, how do I want to be living my life? What do I want to feel? What clothes do I want to be wearing? What kind of conversations do I want to be having with people at work? Do I want to have my own business? Like, people don't take a step back and think about their lives and how they want it to look. And it's really nice getting to do that with clients and getting them to think about that, because they're like, oh yeah, there can be like a bigger purpose, or there can be something exciting that I'm working towards. It's not just about trying to survive. So that was something I did on myself when I first started studying coaching 2 years ago. And yeah, like I'm now living the life that I created as my ideal average day. And so I tell my clients, well, when we do this together, like, it can take, my college argue, it takes like on average a year for you to start stepping into and embodying that life fully that you've created as your ideal average day. So it's really exciting that I've done that, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm no different to you. Like, yes, I've read some books, and like, yes, I think I'm balanced or whatever, but like, I'm no different to you. Like, I can create an idea for how I want my life to live, take action, make it happen exactly as you can. There's nothing special about me in that sense. Like, we're all capable of having a vision and taking inspired action.
But with the sort of vision board, I was interested. To ask you this. So I've done vision boards a handful of times, and I actually found it quite challenging, and I don't know if anybody else feels the same way about this, because I think when you do your first draft, I don't know, and this is how my experience, when you do your first draft, you almost do. I don't know either. You probably go for the materialistic stuff first, which is like I don't know, the house on the hill, or the car that you want, and that's kind of what I did. And I'm not overly materialistic, okay? So like for me to do that, I was a bit like, okay, is that really what I want? I was like, well, what does that house bring to me, or what does that car, or what is it going to bring to me if I have that, So I thought, is this actually what I want? And then I was like, okay, no, let's take a step back again. And I think I put a picture of, a beach up or something along those lines, just to signify spending more time at the beach, and a couple of other things then as well. But like, I think it's typically people go for the materialistic sort of things, rather than maybe, I don't know, like a picture of them and their friends at the beach from a holiday or something, but sort of in visualizing that as being more of a consistent or regular thing, like what you've created, essentially, because your life is pretty much a holiday.
Well, yeah, created it myself. Thank you very
kind
much.
of.
Yeah, no, I can see how that would be a struggle, and I guess I never really thought about it in that sense. So how I would encourage people to go about creating a vision board would be to base it not just on the aesthetic stuff, but base it on a feeling, and base it on your values. So for example, one of my core values, my top values, is inner peace. And so I obviously strive in everything that I do to create peace, and to feel inner peace. And so like on my vision board, yeah, there's the beach, and there's like a really nice home with like lots of plants inside it, because I want to feel peaceful in my home. I feel most peaceful when I'm at the beach. One of my other top values is health, and so on there I've got like this essential oil set that I was like really wanting to invest in, and having like a low tox home, like that kind of stuff. And I also use words on there as well. So I like to cut out individual letters, like bold, colorful letters, and create words. So just write the word peace, or write the word health. It doesn't have to just be visuals of like, yeah, the car and the house and money or whatever, but try and connect to an emotion that you want to feel as well. So like happiness, what brings you happiness? Dogs, the beach, flowers, like these kind of things. Because you want to be planting that in your mind. Like you want to be, seeing these things and associating them with the feeling. And when you can connect to the feeling, you're more likely to manifest it in your life.
Okay, that's interesting. You've said about the actual states of mind or the feelings that you want to you want to manifest, essentially, and like you said, breaking it down again then into little things. So like one of the ones I love actually is making a fuss of other people's dogs and things like that. If I see a dog or some sort of an animal, I'm there. Do you know what I mean? And like first thing in the morning, when I go down and do the sea dip, that's one of the things I absolutely love, is actually seeing other people's dogs, making a fuss of them and stuff. And that is something that you do subconsciously, but it does bring like an immense sort of sense of peace, happiness and things like that to your day. So yeah, if you can sort of plant that then subconsciously on that vision board, so that you kind of recognize it that as being something that's brings a sense of happiness. I really like the idea of that.
Okay. Yeah, connecting it to an emotion, I think, is a good bit of advice. So if you can feel it and start to imagine it as though it's already yours, it's more likely that you'll manifest it in your reality. So if you can really connect to that emotion, like what will it feel like when I, have the piece or have the car? Like, yeah, put the car on there, but why do you want the car? Because you want to feel the freedom. Yeah. You want to have the experiences of being able to drive your friends around, like feel connected to people through that. Like, what is the feeling that the items that you're putting on there are going to bring, and like really try and connect to that, and maybe even use those as words as well. So like if it is connection and freedom, put the words on your vision board: connection and freedom. Freedom's all over mine. It's probably on there about 4 or 5 times. I found the word freedom in magazines. And another good thing to do, it's interesting, we've ended up on the topic of vision boards. So I like to print out pictures of things that I know I definitely want. But I also really love to go through magazines and just see what pops up and what resonates. So set an intention, like I'm creating my vision board. I'm aspiring to create my ideal average day, through this vision board, and then just go through the magazine and see what resonates and see what pops up, and just go with that. Whatever feels right and what feels aligned, like cut it out and stick it down.
Okay, so that's kind of similar then to tarot cards, isn't it? Like, in terms of with tarot cards, obviously you pick like a random card, but then when you're reading through it, like you said, there's sort of you almost subconsciously search for the connections then in relation to what the card is saying, isn't it? Because if you've got a couple of them, you're like, oh, okay, so this means that, and you start sort of. I feel anyway, that's what I do, is I start searching for things that are going on in my life or thoughts that I'm having. And then the cards are helping me to sort of shine a spotlight on that. Do you feel like that's the same thing as well?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I see where you're going with that.
Okay. Okay, so balance is one of the things that we said we were going to cover today, wasn't it? Like just balanced lifestyle, achieving balance, and things like that. I mean, for you, so since you've been in Australia, which is 5 years now? No,
6.5.
More than that, much long. 6.5.
Yeah, 6.5.
6. That's gone so quick. Okay, so 6.5 years. What were you doing before going to Australia? Like when you were in the UK, like in terms of like achieving balance and stuff. Were you sort of familiar with the idea of doing it then, or would you say it's only like recently you sort of thought, actually, this is what I do to chill out and to balance myself? Do you know what I mean? When did you kind of have the self-awareness to do that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a really good question, actually. And I've never really reflected on it, like, where did it begin? So let's go there. Like, let's unpack it.
Let's go there.
Let's
get in the time machine.
Yeah, I'm like, just going back there. I think I've always really valued my health. And it's really interesting because I've always valued my health, and I've always been able to tune into my body and hear it and listen to it and take action. And I think, like from a young age, I've never really been big into like partying as much as most people. Like obviously I've gone through phases, and I can still appreciate like a night out and things, but it's never really been like a big part of my identity. And I think because I haven't overindulged in alcohol or lots of drugs, and I do make healthy choices, like I work out and I eat healthy food, and I've been vegan for 6 years now. I think because I've like not got that constant like stimulation in my body, or my body's not trying to recover from a hangover, it does allow me to tap into my body more. So for example, when I was at university, I had really bad headaches the whole time. And I was like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, is this just me now? Am I always just going to have headaches? And as soon as I graduated, the headaches just went. So that was obviously just my body's way of saying, like, you're extremely stressed. Like something needs to change, something needs to change, something needs to change. Whereas if I was hungover all the time, I probably would have just thought it was my hangover and not really been able to like tap into that. Does that make sense? So
yeah, 100%.
When my periods come irregular, I'm like, okay, like this is my body trying to tell me something here. I need to tap into this and like try and figure out what that means. So I think I've always been quite balanced. And again, I use that word loosely, like it doesn't make me any better than anyone else because I'm trying to apply balance. And there are days and moments where I maybe am less balanced and my choices aren't always aligned and healthy. But I generally think I have always been quite balanced, and I'm really grateful because, yeah, it has allowed me to really understand my body and what it needs. Like I've never been on a diet, I've always just listened to whatever my body needs. Like if it says, I ask myself, like, what do I need right now? And it's like, right, you should eat some fruit today. And it's almost like there is this voice that's like telling me what I need. Like you should eat a shit ton of pasta today. And I'm like, great, I love it when it says that. But like, yeah, by not having all these different like stimulus and blocks, and not being obsessed with reality TV, and allowing like space and time to just be like, what do I need? What's going on? Where am I at? That's really allowed me to maintain a healthier, more balanced lifestyle as well. So I feel like the more balanced and healthier you are, the more you can become and like tap into that even further.
So stripping it back, I suppose, as well, with what you said there, in terms of like junk TV or I don't mean to say like junk habits as well. So like if you're eating like a lot of sugary type stuff, like so bad sugars, or if you really like drinking a lot of coffee or drinking a lot of alcohol, for example, like those things are gonna mess with your physiology and mess with your, well, yeah, just how you feel as well. So how you feel physically in your body and how you feel in your mind. That's going to be a little bit skewed. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense that it's going to be harder to actually identify with those particular sort of feelings that you are not so the feelings, but just how you are in general. I think it makes sense that it's harder to notice. It's kind of like what was I going to say? So like what I found is when I was vegan for a little bit and I was doing it properly, which is at the start, my hangovers were much worse. Much, much worse. Now, there could be another reason why, but the way I looked at it is kind of, if you are cleaner within your body, for example, so there's less toxicity from like the food and the stuff that you consume in, I think when you ingest then some sort of like toxic type stuff like alcohol or whatever it is, it has like this just larger effect on you. That's kind of how... because I found it, because I was probably drinking as frequently as I was beforehand, but because my other habits and my lifestyle was much more healthy, the impact that alcohol was having on me then was much more severe. That's how I found anyway.
That's so interesting that you've said that. Yeah, I think I can resonate with that a lot. I just came back from a holiday to Bali, and it was incredible. And the first 4 days we kind of had quite a bit to drink, which I guess I was like, I'm on holiday, I'm just gonna see how this goes. And after 4 days I threw up 11 times one day with a hangover. Like every half an hour to an hour I was being sick, and I was like, my God, my body just cannot handle this. And for the next 7 days of my holiday, I did not touch a drop of alcohol. And I was like, oh, I feel so much better, like back to my health again. But that was just my body's way of saying, like, this ain't for you. Like, this is not what you're doing. Like, stop. So again, I was able to tap into that and be like, okay, yeah, I'm on holiday. It doesn't serve me to drink though, so I'm not going to drink. And I had the best time. Like, I was getting up from watching sunrise and going for bike rides and doing some journaling and having coffee and smoothie bowls. And I'd come back to the apartment and the girls would still be like kind of coming round, and that, like, you know, that's what lights them up, is having that night experience. But what lights me up more is having that morning experience. But yeah, just going back to what you said, yeah, like perhaps it is harder for us to process like toxicity, and I think for a lot of my clients actually that are trying to move away from those habits, and now again, I'm not judging anyone that chooses to drink and, like, you know, have a social life on the weekends in that context, but for a lot of my clients that are trying to move away from that, they just thought that it was normal to feel sluggish and tired and a bit grouchy and low mood and like low motivation, because they've never really stopped those habits or those choices long enough to know that on the other side of that is actually, you know, motivation and not waking up, you know, hating life every morning and like having a clear mind and having energy. People have never stopped long enough to know that that is like a normal kind of baseline. They just figured that baseline was, you know, low mood, low energy, low motivation. So when they stop, they're like, shit, I didn't even realize this was accessible.
Well, I was going to say about that actually. So you mentioned about like sort of like the baseline of people there. I mean, I think if you are, if you're somebody who's not got sort of, I'm not sure which way to word this, but if you're somebody who's not sure about what you like or what anchors you, and like let's just say, no, you might go to the gym, but you just do the gym because one of your two of your friends are going and you feel like that's what you're supposed to be doing, and then you go into work and you do your regular day job and that, and then you go home and you might watch some TV and things, but there's not sort of like extracurricular activities that you tend to do or hobbies that you might enjoy, or things that really sort of fill you up and get you, like, give you a sense of excitement. So let's just say now, you're somebody who's kind of in that position where you don't know what you enjoy or what you like. What would you say is the sort of best step for them to take then in order to start that self-discovery journey almost, and figuring out what they can do to achieve balance? So that, you know, the things that you mentioned there, like journaling, getting up for sunrise, and like when you went from doing the 4 days drinking to starting to do those things again, which you do regularly, like, for people who don't know what they like, what's the best thing you'd say to try and do in order to get have that sort of understanding? Although all that, what I like to call it is like a mental toolkit, or, you know, a toolbox almost of little things that you can kind of deploy as and when you need them.
Yeah, I call them the things that underpin your happiness and your well-being. But same concept, and that's a really good question. And my advice in that context would be to get really, really clear on what you value and to make all your decisions based on that. Because your values are obviously, like, a value is something that's like, it's your core importance, like it's something of the utmost importance to you. And so why would you not want to make all your decisions based on what's really fucking important to you? So, for example, you know, my core values are, as I said, inner peace and health and growth. And so my morning routine represents all of that. You know, watching the sunrise is probably one of the most peaceful things that you'll ever do. The world is quiet, it's great. I go for a walk and I do a workout every morning. So obviously there's the health aspect, and journaling inspires growth in me. So all my decisions are based on my values. And when you get clear on them, it's so much easier to make decisions, or to, set boundaries, or to remove things from your life. So does drinking lots of alcohol, make me feel healthy? No. So then am I going to make decisions consistently that contradict my values? No, because I know they are so important to me. I know they underpin my happiness and my well-being. And so it's not really something that I'm willing to negotiate on. And it is hard to get clear on your values, because you'll have the values that you're living now that are giving you the life that you're living now. So the ones that you have now are probably not the ones that you want to continue to try and embody. So what you really need to try and figure out is, what is the life that you want to be living? And if someone is already living that life, what do they value? And then how can you embody those values and become that person that's living the life that you want to be living? And I think a good way to figure that out is to do that with a coach, or to have someone to bounce the ideas around with. But yeah, I think that's the premise of every decision that you should ever make, should always come down to, what are your core values and how they underpin your happiness.
Okay, so core values, decisions, working it backwards like that, rather than just making the decision subconsciously. So actually sitting there thinking it through a little bit more about why you want those, or why you want to do each thing. Yeah, rather than it just being something you're doing because somebody said it's good to do it.
Yeah.
I think we all do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, go on.
No, I was just agreeing with what you're going to say. Carry on.
No, I'm literally just going to say I think a lot of people will do what their friends do, or what people in the wider community might do, and you might even off Instagram or TikTok and things like that. You know, you might do something just based on the fact that you've seen it on there, which is fine, because if you're trying something new, I think that's a great way to discover those little things that you're going to put in your little mental toolkit. So you've got a full spectrum of stuff to explore. Because it becomes part of your identity then, doesn't it? Once you start to mold all of those different things around your daily, your life in general, whether you start rock climbing, or you do daily meditation, or you do yoga a couple of days a week, that ends up over the course of time starting to be, or mold your life and your viewpoint on the world as well. So because of the people you're going to be interacting with in each place. I think, just trying new things out as often as possible, exploring it, no matter where you get the sort of inspiration from. But at the same time, if you can do what you said, actually try and identify why something's appealing to you, or why you want to try something, rather than just doing it because you could be like, oh, I want to learn a martial art. Okay, why do you want to learn a martial art? So I can fight people in town. It's going to be like, oh, okay, that's probably not the best motivator for that. Whereas if it was like, oh, well, I got bullied in school and I want to build myself up so that I don't have to kind of have people do that anymore. That's a slightly different motivation for some people. Or it could be like, oh, well, I want to instill good values and stuff into my kid, and actually get them to be into martial arts. So I want to have a general understanding of it for my child so that they can do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, you're figuring out the reasons why you're doing something and getting crystal clear on it, whilst also just trying it, just giving it a go.
What you're saying is connecting it to your why. What is your why? Why do you want to do it?
And just going on back onto the balance stuff. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
No, go on.
I was just going to say, I think, I'm going back to the balance stuff anyway. It's super important, in my opinion, to establish the things that underpin your happiness and to generate balance in your life, because when the going gets tough, or when shit hits the fan, or however you want to word it, if you have already got clear and established the things in your life that underpin your well-being and your happiness, and you have implemented them into your life, as part of your morning routine or your nighttime routine, or you've created that balance throughout your day with those things that light you up, fulfill you, help with your well-being. It doesn't matter what happens in your day or in your life, because that you've always got that shit to fall back on. And I really, really learned that the hard way last year. As you know, obviously, when I lost my brother, it was a really difficult time for me and my family, but I'm super proud of myself for still being able to, even in the darkest moments of my life, be able to implement and still continue to work with the shit that I knew that was going to help me. So even though I was experiencing, the worst pain and going through the roughest time, I was still journaling every day. I was still going for my morning walk out in nature every day, and having my coffee. I was still going for sea dips with you, and like trying to connect with community and like-minded people. I was still going to yoga every week. I was still going for runs, because I know that's the shit that is gonna get me through. I knew that before it got tough, and I created it, before it got really challenging, and I was then really able to understand the importance of it when shit got tough, because I had it there to lean on, and it really got me through like the worst times. And I'm so grateful that I have that balanced life, and I have those pillars to lean on.
Yeah, no, I think it makes a hell of a difference when you've got those little anchor points, because I think, like you said, that what I find is with me and with maybe other people as well, those things tend to be, or in some instances when you're going through tough times, they tend to be the things that you drop away with, and that's when I recognize that things are out of balance. It might not be like a major sort of event, but if just certain things might be changing. It could be a change of job, so somebody could change a job, and then all of a sudden, because they're trying to get used to a new sort of life, or new people and all that kind of stuff, new routine, you might shy away from certain habits. You might stop journaling, you might stop meditating, you might stop spending some time out in the sunshine in the morning. And I find that if you recognize it, you go, okay, I haven't been doing this as much, but I find this really, really valuable. You can get back into it. You can just go and pick it back up. But I find that it's just recognizing when those things have fallen by the wayside. So funny enough, one thing I do is I monitor every penny I spend, and I add it into a spreadsheet. Okay, when I add it into a spreadsheet, then I've got all of it there, and I can just see it. Right now, it's just more for me just to sort of have an oversight of everything I'm doing. Now, I haven't done that for about 3 or 4 weeks, so I am going to catch up with it. But I've recognised that through those last 3 or 4 weeks, I've probably been running around like a headless chicken, trying to do loads of different things. So that can read as being out of balance almost, because those sort of like core little things which I find make me feel within control of my life and organised and structured, 1 or 2 of them have slipped away, and it's like, oh, hang on. And so I find that they're almost beacons. They're lighthouses. The things that we do like that, those anchor points, they're lighthouses to help us recognise when we're stepping off the track a little bit.
That's exactly it. I have a wheel that I created for my clients. It's called my self-care and well-being wheel. And I just get them to look at all the different areas of their lives and rate themselves out of 10, basically. And I did it on myself a few weeks ago. And because I was like, I just feel a bit like something's a bit out of sort. I was like, let me just go through this wheel now and have a little look. I was like, do the work, Sarah. You encourage your clients to do the work. And I looked at it and I was like, holy shit, I've had no fun and adventure in my life for months. As in, I hadn't, been to a waterfall or climbed up a mountain or been on a bushwalk. I hadn't done anything like that. And I love being in nature, as you know. And I was like, oh my God, that's the exact issue here. I need to change my environment. I need to have more experiences, fully immersed in nature, not just pop into the beach to watch sunrise. I love that, but I need to be in it for the whole day, with trees and all this stuff. That's what lights me up. And there was other areas that I felt like I was lacking as well. And one of them was inspiration and motivation. And I was like, if I have the adventure and the fun, I'm probably going to then feel more inspired and motivated as well. So yeah, you're so right. How do you know if something is out of whack, or you're a bit out of sort, or something's missing from your balanced life? I guess when you're able to tap into those feelings, or ask yourself how am I feeling, what's missing, am I feeling out of sort? Take note of how you're feeling, and then just map it out. Literally write it down. I'll send you my self-care and well-being wheel if anybody wants it. Just ask. I'm happy to send that to anyone, because that's a really good way to just have a look at your life, as a whole, and just figure out where the gaps are, so that you can implement something in each area.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that takes us on to something you mentioned you wanted to talk about, which is walking the tightrope between sort of being motivated and pulling yourself up, whilst also not like dismissing the feelings and things like that, or dismissing how, you know, because I know you mentioned about it briefly just then, where you kind of had to push yourself to get up and do those individual things that, you know, give you a sense of purpose and you know, and help you, whilst also simultaneously dealing with grief. I mean, for other people, like, how, you know, when people say that I just can't get up and be motivated to do it, I feel like you've kind of done it there just because you know those are your individual things. Do you think that what you were talking about, actually identifying the sort of reasons why each of those things are important to you, is probably a good way for people who are maybe struggling to get motivated to do those things, or to stay consistent whilst going through other challenges? If they've got that crystal clear why of how those different things make an impact on them, that's how they would find the motivation to do it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think validation is a really strong stakeholder in motivation.
Mm.
So let me explain what I'm trying to say. So, well, I wrote a blog on this a while ago, actually. You might remember, we practice in the light what we wish to remember in the dark.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
the things that I'm talking about that I have in place that underpin my well-being, I didn't devise them when I was in the pits. I didn't think, you know, this is rough, how am I going to get out of this? I already had that shit in place and was already religiously practicing those techniques, you know, like I said, my morning routine, walking, gym, meditation, sunrise, coffee, nature, like all those things. I'd already put that in place in the light when shit was good, so that knowing that life ebbs and flows and that it's never going to be this linear, like consistent, steady flow, I implemented it when it was good, so that when shit hits the fan, you've already got it there in place. But I think one thing that I found difficult, because I'm a human, is wanting to validate myself and validate my circumstances and my situation, and sit with my emotions and be in that very feminine energy, but then also wanting to step back into the growth of my business again, and step back into going into the gym again every day, like step back into more of what we would call a masculine space and find that balance. I found that really difficult, because I do really enjoy being in the masculine space of like growth and working out and, like, you know, feeling really motivated. But also I really am aware of the importance of being in that feminine space of like sitting with my emotions and validating my experience, and taking things slow and resting. And I think there is no right or wrong to that, because I guess it's all based on feeling, isn't it? So it's like, do you feel ready to step back into that masculine energy? Like, ask yourself those questions. Do you feel like you have capacity to work in your business again right now? You know, have you given yourself the time? I don't think anyone can say to you, you know, your grief should be up by now. Like, oh, it's been a month, like your grief should be over. I think that's something that you really have to decide for yourself. Like, do you have capacity? You know, are you mentally stable? Like, are you able to go to the gym? Are you physically able? Like, if you've been grieving, anyone that's grieved will know you're probably gonna, you know, have lost quite a lot of weight and maybe lost your appetite and maybe not even have the strength to step back into the gym yet. So there's no right or wrong. You have to ask yourself all these questions and make the assessment based on how you're feeling. Yeah, there's no solution to it. I don't think. No one could come in and say to me, you know, after 1 month, like, right, back to the gym, back into your business, because I probably would have only ended up injured or burnt out. Probably would have not done any of my clients a service. Like, I would have done clients a disservice. And yes, I know I can always add value to people's life no matter what's going on in my life, but I would not have done or like not have provided the service that I would have wanted to provide, and that wouldn't have left me feeling great, and that would have transpired into how I coach my clients and how they felt about the session as well. So as you can tell, I'm very much into tapping into how I'm feeling, and like, obviously, yeah, wanting to validate my experiences, but yeah, super keen to like step back into growth and the masculine energy as well.
Yeah, it's probably worth mentioning as well. You know, like we've said about doing those particular things that you know are going to pull you through. There's probably there's a line that you've got to draw in the sand, I think, with that, isn't it? Because what some people might say is, oh well, I enjoy being around people in work, so I'm going to go straight back to work, for example. When that's maybe not the best thing to do. So like I think it's kind of identifying, right, am I trying to, sweep it under the rug here and not, like you said, deal with the sort of feminine side of it in terms of the thoughts and the emotions that are, going on, and actually allowing yourself to process them. And then you're going straight into that other side where you're like, right, let's just move, let's go work, let's be busy, let's be active, let's be around other people. And I think it's important to be around other people, but it's equally as important to spend time on that other side where you're being self-reflective and you're analysing your thoughts and emotions and, like you said, processing it in that way. Because I think so many people just jump straight back into whatever it was that they were doing before in terms of the daily routine. And I think it's okay, like you said, it's okay to kind of go, right, I'm going to have a lay-in today rather than wake up early and go to the gym. And I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to chill and I'm going to have a coffee out the garden. So just changing it up slightly like that. So you're still doing some sort of a positive habit, but you're maybe doing the ones that are sort of less demanding. And also you're taking the pressure off yourself as well, because that's another thing. We all kind of kick ourselves when we don't do our general habits. Like if you don't wake up for the gym just because you're tired from the weekend. You're like, oh, what a fucking idiot, I didn't do the gym, and then you're kicking yourself down further. And I think if you're going through some stuff and you're just kicking yourself down further again, that's not it's not building a healthy relationship or with yourself. So yeah, I think it's just drawing a line in the sand.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And we have to remember that we are cyclical beings. Like, we are seasonal. And especially women, like, we are seasonal. We have a 28-day cycle, and we have to remember that we can't always be at our peak energy in the same way that the earth can't always be in summer. It has to have autumn and winter and the seasons where it takes a step back so that it can come into full bloom again, spring and summer. And I have a great routine. Like, I am balanced and healthy. It makes me cringe to even say that now. I need to try and figure out a better way to word it. But I have days where I will do absolutely nothing and I will binge on a series on Netflix and just allow myself to just switch off. And there are mornings, they don't always make me feel that great, but there are mornings where I will stay in bed, maybe like once a month, because my body's like exhausted and I'm like, I'm just going to stay in bed for an hour extra today. And like, for example, I went to go to the gym the other day. I literally had my bag packed, ready to go, and I got my period. And I was like, well, then I'm not going then. Like, the first day of your cycle should always be a day where you rest. Like, you do not push your body in the gym. I was going to do legs as well. And I was like, well, I'm obviously not going to the gym now then. Like, I wasn't sure as well whether to go. I was like, oh, should I go or not? I've just got back from holiday. I was like, no, go. You'll feel better. Then I got my period and I was like, well, there was the sign that I needed. I'm definitely not going to the gym now. Took my activewear off, put my PJs on, and sat on the couch and ate a bar of chocolate. And I'm not even sorry for it. Like, that's just me tuning into, my body and what it would have needed in that time. There have been times where, like, I've pushed myself and I've gone really hard in the gym the first few days of my cycle, and then a week later I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, I've got fatigue, I've got like these mad like cravings, and I'm like constantly hungry, constantly tired, and I know that that's because I pushed myself when I should have really taken a step back and slowed things down a little. That was me, in my winter trying to force summer. So we have to remember, especially women, we are seasonal, cyclical beings, and it's okay to not be at your summer all the time. Like, it's not a thing.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point, mine, and I think that's something that I'm only recently, probably in about 2 years ago, I think it was, about two and a bit years ago, working at Swansea Uni, and I was doing my thing where I was like up early, trying to do a million different things throughout the day whilst working. And I remember going into work one day in the winter, and one of the girls there, she said to me, like, you need to calm down, or you need to slow down or whatever. And like I said, I was okay myself. I was like, getting up and just doing the gym. It was just because I had a few different things I was trying to manage and juggle. And she's like, you're trying to operate your body at the same level as you do in the summer. But she was like, when it's in the winter, we're supposed to be, if you think back a couple of hundred or a couple of thousand years, humans would have been wrapping themselves up in like warmer clothing. They would have been sitting around campfires. They would have been eating like hot foods like stew and all of those sorts of different things to try and warm themselves up, drinking hot drinks, and having that sort of like sense of hygge almost, trying to knuckle down. Oh, what's the other word? Hibernating. So like, just hibernating away and trying to stay away from the elements and the cold. Whereas in our society, because we've got heating in the buildings we go into, we've got heating in our houses, we've got heating in our cars, we've got the facility to have as many clothes on as we want. But
light.
I think artificial light, it's our bodies biologically, the way they're supposed to be responding in the winter are typically, we're trying to run them at a different sort of pace than what they're used to. Like you said, the artificial light's the big one. Because I think if you're on your phone or you're watching your TV up until later in the evening when the sun has gone down by 4 or 5 o'clock, that is you're keeping your body awake probably longer than it needs to be. Whereas you might, if you were in your natural cycle, you might want to go to bed by 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and you're forcing it to stay up later. Then you're going to be waking later in the morning, or just feeling more shit. And I think it's just a bit of a catch-22 then, because you're going to stop or not be able to potentially keep up with some of the things that you do find very, very good for your health. So like getting up early for the gym, if you're just chilling watching films and then you feeling a bit more restless or awake by the time you go to try and go to sleep, you're more likely to just sleep through your alarm. Then you're going to feel shit because you didn't go to the gym. I think it's just a bit of a catch-22. But I think recognising in the winter in general that we are on that sort of a downward period. And like you said, even if it's not just winter, but just in general, like I think blokes can, obviously we don't get periods, but, it's kind of, I think everybody has these little, these little peaks and troughs. And when you're on one of those like little troughs, it's like, okay, what have I done differently or what haven't I done? Identify what's kind of got you into that point. If you can, sometimes you're not going to. Sometimes it's just going to be, could be the weather, could be anything. I tend to always try and identify what it is that's put me that in there. But you don't. All it does is allow you to think, okay, well, it's not just me. Then it's not something I've done. Or, oh, actually, I have been drinking on the weekend. So now on the Tuesday, I'm feeling a little bit down in the dumps. That's potentially why. So what am I going to do? Okay, well, I'm going to have some good food, get some sunshine, and do all of these different things that raise the serotonin levels and also make me feel, healthy again, and pulls you back. But I think it's just recognizing that it's natural, isn't it? Like to have those ups and downs.
Yeah, peaks and troughs. Yeah, that's it. And like you're saying, you make a really good point there. It is always really good to reflect on what we've been doing or what we've done differently if our mood or our state has altered. But ultimately, like especially again with women, once a month I'm extremely bloated and I'll hold a lot of water, like I can just I feel puffy. And for years I was like, why am I bloated? Like, oh God, like something's wrong. And I get stressed every month, like, oh, I'm bloated again, and God, this is awful, and I hate this. And I was like, fuck, if this is going to happen to me every month for the rest of my fertile years, so when do women have menopause? I was like 50. I was like, I'm not going to spend my entire life stressing every single month about a bit of bloat that I know is nothing to do with what I've done differently, nothing to do with what I've eaten or drank, like nothing to do with how I've exercised. It's just something that's going to come around every month. I was like, I'm just going to accept it. And the moment that I just accepted it, I was like, oh my God, I feel so much lighter now. Like there's no blame. I wasn't blaming myself anymore. I don't have to feel guilty or I don't have to feel shame around it. It's just a part of being a woman. It happens to us all, and it'll pass in a few days, and it'll probably come back because it's just what happens every month. But like reflecting on your behaviors isn't always going to result in you finding something that you should or could do differently. Sometimes it just allows you to recognize it's just a part of you, being a cyclical, seasonal being, and it allows you to come at it from a place of acceptance rather than blame and shame.
Yeah, blame and shame are really, really negative emotions, aren't they? You know, they can really start to drag you down almost, I think, mentally, and just in terms of how your own relationship with yourself. Like if you're constantly blaming yourself or shaming yourself or just kicking yourself down, you know, it becomes your sort of general mode of thinking, doesn't it, in terms of how you're communicating about yourself. Let's just say now, for example, that um, yeah, you're blaming yourself for not going to the gym constantly if you haven't been for a little while, and you just say, "Oh, I'm so lazy. I'm a fat, person," or what, like just loads of different things like that. You know, just these really negative things that you can say just because you haven't been, and you know, over the course of time, then you might even start saying that to other people. So like, oh, you know, there's somebody be like, "Oh, well, have you been to the gym lately?" And I've done this, right? I was literally doing this a couple of weeks ago, and I caught myself. I was like, "Hang on, no, I'm, you know, kicking myself a little bit here for not being back in the training." But you know, some people were saying to me like, "Oh, have you been to the gym today?" No, just going to the spa. Yeah, I'm just gonna being lazy at the minute. I'm not doing any, I'm not training as much. I just can't be, I haven't been able to get, be bothered for it. I'm being a bit lazy, and you know, I was just kind of like, hang on, no, what I'm really doing here is telling myself that I'm being lazy, and then I'm actually putting it out there in the world as well. So I'm just reinforcing my own sort of belief systems about it. Yeah, that's like you said. If you can kind of catch yourself when you're being negative about yourself, either in your own head or just actually when you're talking to other people, and just reframing it. There's no rewording it. So you know, I'm not lazy. I'm
Yeah.
just resting.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was going to say. The reframe of that would just be, I've been taking some time to let my body rest, or I've been taking some recovery time, or I've been focusing more on mental well-being. There's lots of different ways to reframe that. But I personally don't think that with self-awareness, any emotion is negative. So if you're feeling a lot of shame around something, often it's an opportunity, if you have enough self-awareness, to explore it. So why am I feeling this shame? What is feeling this shame allowing me to not, what is this shame allowing me to not experience? Or why is it showing up? Like, is it because I care about something a lot and maybe I should invest more time in it? Like, I'm feeling shameful for not going to the gym. Have I created too much of an identity around the gym, and is this an ego thing? Or is the gym actually really serving me, or is it just because of this identity that I've created? Like, if you have self-awareness around any emotion, I don't believe it's negative. Emotions are emotions, and it's the meaning that we attach to them, I think, that creates the issue. I think, yeah, with self-awareness, any emotion can be explored and can be an opportunity to, reconsider what's really important to you, or whether you, allow you to decide whether you need to take more action towards or away from something.
Okay. Yeah, and I think one of the other things I was going to mention, I've just lost this question now. I had it in my head. Where's it gone? Ah, yeah. One of the things I just thought of, which I want to ask you, is when you come back to UK last year in August, you couldn't get back to Australia for quite a while, could you? So you were kind of like trapped in the UK for for a number of months. Like what? And now, not everybody's going to feel it, be in that sort of a position where they can't get back onto a flight, but the feeling of being sort of like not trapped or away from the life that that you kind of you've built and things like that. Like how do you deal with that? So like, for example, if someone's like got to work a job maybe that they don't like, for example, or they're in a situation which they kind of feel trapped in. Obviously, I know I was there with you, through it, kind of thing. So I seen you you did everything, to make sure that you got back out there. And for like what were your thoughts on that, and how did you kind of work through it? And if somebody was in a similar sort of experience where they were feeling trapped, like how did you kind of navigate your way out of that?
Yeah, I guess you've got, I don't know if anyone's ever seen like the circle of control and the circle of concern. So it's basically like in the middle is your circle of control. So they're the things that you can control. And like you said, you knew I did everything that I could to try and obtain my goal, which was to get back to Australia. And for anyone that's listening that doesn't know, I went back to the UK following the death of my younger brother in August, and then because of COVID, I was unable to get back out to Australia. So I supported my family through our grief. I was ready to come home to Australia, and it was very difficult because the borders were closed, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, if you look at the circle of concern and the circle of control, in the middle is the circle of control, and I really focus there, because anything else is a complete waste of time and energy, and you can only control what you can control, right? So I applied for my new passport, I applied for exemptions to the Australian government, I focused on all the daily things that I could control within my routine. So, as you know, like walks, runs, journaling, yoga, coffee, connection, blah, 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 like all those things I knew I could show up for and control. And anything else outside of that, there was no way I was going to be able to control the response of Australian government. I did my bit. I asked for help with that. Like I said, I applied for my passport, obtained all the evidence that I could obtain. And the rest, I guess, you kind of just have to let go of. And that was really, really difficult for me because, yes, I like to have things my way. Yes, I like to have control, as do most people, especially when it comes to something so important to you as, getting back home or, having a job that fills you up or whatever your example is, like trying to have control over things, like naturally that's important to most people. So it was really hard for me to just accept that, the outcome will be the outcome. I've done my bit. But one thing that I get clients to do when we are exploring these kind of issues is to write a list of things that you can control and make it down to as specific as the flavor of your toothpaste or what way you walk to the bus stop. Like if you think about it, if you're feeling out of control in certain areas of your life, consider the areas that you do have control instead, because there is a lot. Like what type of foundation do you use? What color underwear are you going to put on? Your flavor of your toothpaste? What's your breakfast cereal? How much money you have on your bus pass card. I don't know, there's heaps of things that you have control of. Make a list of it, because you'll be very surprised about how much you actually have control over. And anything else that you can't control, you just have to let it go. And it's going to come up, but it's not going to just completely disappear, but shift your focus again onto the things that you can control.
I really, really like that idea, mine, about the writing a list for the things you can control, because like you said, I think a lot of the time we do feel or can feel out of control, or that, especially if there's some things that have happened that are circumstances that, like you say, we're not able to affect. But yeah, I think writing a list of the things that you were actually in control of, that's a really, really nice way to switch it, so that you're kind of focusing on that kind of side of it rather than the bits that you can't change. And I suppose that ties in as well with sort of with gratitude. So rather than focusing on the things that you haven't got, you're focusing on the things you do got, and that actually puts you back in the driver's seat. You start to feel sort of a sense of peace, or happier, or less stressed, because you're like, well, actually I've got all of these amazing things here, so why am I worrying about this one thing that I don't have? And then likewise with the circle of control, I suppose it's putting you back in the driver's seat and allowing you to think, yeah, okay, I don't have control of X, Y, and Z, but I have control of all of this kind of stuff. So yeah, I really like that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And gratitude, actually,
I guess
you're something you go on. Yeah.
Go.
No, you go. Go on. You go first. Come on.
I can't remember what I was going to say now. It's completely gone. I was going to say that it shifts your mindset. So if you are focusing on the things that you can't control and stressing about how much you can't control them, you're probably going to put yourself in this little box of only being able to see more of what you can't control, because as you know, the brain will only look to confirm whatever it is that you're telling it or focusing on, to the exclusion of everything else. So when you put yourself in the circle of concern and you only focus on all your concerns, you're probably going to find that your circle of concern gets fucking bigger. Same as with gratitude. If you only focus on all the things that are going wrong, you'll find more things that are going wrong. But if you focus on all the things to be grateful for, and the things that you can control, then you probably will find that you'll find more things to be grateful for. So yeah, I can totally see how you've linked the two there. Yeah, they're definitely very much aligned.
Yeah, like you said, just that point on that as well. I was speaking to somebody a couple of weeks ago, and they'd had like a major sort of event in their life, which had obviously caused a lot of emotional distress and a lot of pain. But they mentioned about how there was so many shit things happening, and said there's just loads of shit, horrible stuff happening in the minute, and the world's fucked sort of thing. And I was kind of sitting there, and I thought, obviously, they're going through like they're going through a lot of emotional pain at the moment and a lot of stress, which is why that their kind of worldview is a little bit different to what mine is, for example. Whereas, like you said, I think it's if you're having a few big things that are causing you to feel that way, it's easier then to kind of look around and see all of those other little those things that are happening, and then that starts to just really reshape your worldview. So, pointing example, actually, or pointing, what's the expression? Case example. Anyway, beginning of COVID. Okay, so everywhere in the news, people are talking about all the stuff that's happening. Everyone's concerned, everyone's worried. There's loads of negative shit going in the media. And don't get me wrong, it was very hard to get away from that, because every single person was talking about it. Every single news channel was talking about it. It was completely everywhere. You consumed with it. But I started to notice that I was feeling a bit more like anxious and stuff like that. Not really anxious, but just there's something a bit like, uneasy feeling there. So I started unfollowing like all of the news pages, and I started actively following then like happy newspaper type ones. So like there's a couple of apps I downloaded. They were sending me positive news articles of like penguins getting in trouble and then actually managing to be reunited with the rest, their crew, their mates. Just little things like that, right? And it's really, really surprising how much difference that kind of stuff makes, because it's just you're just having more positive interaction with with good things, with stuff that's not not negative, or not causing that extra stress or more emotional pain. So yeah, I just found that was really interesting. I think that comes from it's very closely aligned with gratitude as well, because you're just counting your blessings, or you're counting the good things rather than counting the bad. And sometimes it's hard to do that, but I think just recognizing if that is your general mode of thought at the moment, where you're constantly looking for the negatives or seeing the negatives, it's like, okay, I need to flip this up here and start working on not just seeing the positives, but actually seeing the good stuff, and counting it up. So yeah. With gratitude for you. I was going to say, with gratitude for you, what's your kind of? I know you practice it quite a bit. Do you like write some stuff before you go to bed, or do you say it verbally, or like in your head? What kind of which way do you do it?
That's a big part of my journal in the morning. So sometimes I will just free write. So I'll just do like a check in, like especially if something's going on for me in my life, I'll just do a bit of free writing, like this is what's going on, and this is how I'm feeling, and this is how I want things to be. So it was really nice to look back on that, actually. I was looking back at my journals from the end of last year and considering how far I've come, which is nice. But yeah, one of the other things that I do for my journaling in the mornings is to write 10 things that I'm grateful for. And I've told a few people this, and they're like, oh my God, I couldn't think of 10 things to be grateful for every day. Like, gosh, how do you think of 10? But like when you get going, you surprise yourself. And a lot of the time, like I go through my day before, from like morning to nighttime, and I like kind of play it through my mind. And I'm like, right, I'm really grateful for my morning coffee because blah blah blah. I'm really grateful for the sunrise this morning because it was really beautiful. So like I play my day out through my head, and I think of the different things throughout my day that I'm grateful for from that. But yeah, it's just like what we're saying, isn't it? Like when you can start your day with that mindset of gratitude, like you're setting yourself up for success. If you're starting your day, picking up your phone straight away, setting off all the stress receptors in your body because there's notification after notification, email after email that you haven't read, and you're already like stimulating your brain with all these different like sensory, like lights and colors, and all the stress that you feel when you have all these unread notifications and messages, which I have a lot of when I wake up from, by the way, because I sleep here when everyone's awake in the UK. So my mum and my dad and everyone's messaged me when I woke up, so I really try and avoid my phone for the first hour if I can, when I wake up, and I'll do my morning routine and write my gratefuls then, because I feel like I'm then more in control of my mind and how my day plays out, because it hasn't just been based on the messages that I've received and the stress that I felt through my phone. It's been based on what I chose to focus on. So spending time in nature, focusing on things to be grateful for, moving my body.
Do you know what? That's a really good one as well. The phone in the morning is a bit. I'm guilty of this. I do have a sort of, because I think a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We got the alarms on our phone, haven't we? So we put the alarm on the phone, and all of a sudden, when we pick it up to turn off the alarm, it's too easy to kind of just take it back into bed and to, just start scrolling. And I think we're all guilty of it. I think some of the things you can do, which can make a difference to that, is obviously getting a good alarm clock or something, and just turning your phone off or putting it outside of the room. So you're not having that sort of need to pick it up straight away. I think putting it downstairs would be really good. What else? You can set timing limits, I think, on it as well.
Yeah, that's a good one as well. I've just ordered a Google Home Hub, which basically has an alarm on it and music on it, and it has a light that will naturally get brighter. Because I want to leave my phone outside my room. I want to complete my morning routine, so my walk, my journaling, my sunrise, and my workout before having even looked at my phone. Because I don't need it that early in the morning. There's no messages that I need to respond to that early in the morning. Absolutely nothing. So I want to start, and I've done it, a few times, or maybe a few times a week, where I will just leave my phone at home. But it's what you're saying, isn't it? Once your alarm's gone off and you've picked your phone up just to turn your alarm off, you're like, oh, someone's just messaged, and then next minute you're in this whole web of responding and reading your emails at 6 a.m. and that's it. Then that's your brain kick-started. It's it's active then, isn't it? It's not in that nice kind of coming round phase and stress.
So that I was going to say, that phase where you're kind of coming around, I think they say that. I think that just as you're drifting off and just as you're waking up, those are really sort of integral times within the day where I think, in particular, if you are, I think it's just before you drop off and just as you're waking up, you are, if you listen to something, I think you're much more suggestible, so you're in a bit of a transient sort of state. So they say if you were to listen to something that you want to learn just before you go to sleep, or if there's something, if there's a way of you listening to something or doing something just as you're coming around that you want to kind of learn, those are the best times to do it, because it kind of lodges it in your subconscious quicker, apparently. So I'm I do often wonder if I'm falling asleep and I've got my phone on in my hand, or I'm waking up and then I'm picking up my phone straight away. When I'm in that much more sort of chilled sort of state, is it what is it actually doing to my mind? I always do think that, so I'm very conscious of it, and I think it's worth other people thinking about that as well. And even if you could try and do it for I don't know, like a week. If you go on holiday, for example, you don't need your phone for an alarm, so you could practice it when you go away, or if you're on holiday just at home. Just keeping that, putting it away for a couple of hours of the night, putting it away, keeping it away then first thing in the morning, because then you can see how your body responds to just working off an alarm clock or just not having one at all, and then feeling the difference when you wake up in the morning. So in the summer, I'll have the curtains open. When the sun comes up first thing in the morning, I'm usually awake and I feel much more energized when I wake up that time, because I've woken up naturally with the light in my eyes. And I find that I don't actually, when I wake up then, I don't need to go and turn my alarm off or my phone or anything, because I'm already awake. Does that make sense? So it's just, I think it's just playing around with different things, and just recognizing if something is causing you to feel anxious and stuff. Like you said, if you're going on Facebook or you're going on Instagram and you're looking at other people's stuff and then thinking, oh shit, I haven't got that, or they looked like they had a great night last night, why wasn't I out? or you see something on the news on Facebook, which is like, I don't know, relating to climate change. It's just they're all having that sort of physiological and neurological effect on us, which kind of happens subconsciously a lot of the time, and but it's still happening to us, isn't it? It's still leaving an imprint on us.
What a shit way to start your day, like setting off all your stress receptors. Like, that is not going to set you up for a day of success, is it? I challenge anyone that's listening, actually, just try it even just for one morning. Like, get up, do your morning routine. Like, whether your morning routine is as extensive as mine, or whether it is just like brushing your teeth, taking the dog down to the toilet, or I don't know, like sitting on the couch and meditating, reading a book, or just making your breakfast. Like, I challenge you to just complete your morning routine until you need to get in the car, get on the bus, whatever. Do that without using your phone and see if you notice the difference, because you just feel so much more in control of your emotions and your mood and your day and your mind. Personally, that's how I feel. I challenge you to try the same. Let us know how you go.
I'm going to do this tomorrow as well. Yeah, I'm going to give that a go tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm
First
like,
thing tomorrow
I haven't
morning.
done it this week. I know it's only Monday, but I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it tomorrow too.
Yeah, awesome. That'd be good. If anybody's listening as well, and you do try it, let Sarah know or let me know as well. It'd be really interesting to see how you kind of, the differences that made. And I always say it's good to it's good to journal whenever you're trying a challenge or you're trying some sort of new thing. To journal about how you feel before and after. So, like, let's say we're going to do, I don't know, a 1 week or a 10-day breath work sort of challenge. Monitoring and journaling about how you feel beforehand and then how you feel during and after, so that you can sort of reflect on it and even do a scoring system. Scoring system's good. So, 1 being I feel completely down in the dumps right now, and then 10 being I feel absolutely great. Everything's perfect in the world. Seeing the difference. And actually measuring it as well, because I think that's the hard thing sometimes, is measuring the way that we feel from one day to the next. I think if we were to put a scoring system on it, then you've got analytics almost that you can work off, and I think that makes such a, it allows you to have a look at it a bit more objectively, I suppose.
Yeah, it is hard to measure the soft outcomes, isn't it? It's not like my sleep has improved by 1 hour. When you're measuring people's mood or motivation, it's a little bit harder to do that, like, with numbers, like quantitatively. So yeah, I guess if you can just like write down and reflect on how you're feeling with your words, and then look back, you'll be capturing like that qualitative data, which you can then compare.
Bit of a random question, actually. What's the best book or your favourite book the best book you've ever read in terms of what you took away from it, or how it resonated with you, or just your favourite book in general for somebody listening who might want to try something out?
I guess if I'm thinking in line with what we've spoken about today, probably have 2 books that I would recommend. I'm just trying to think of the name of the author of one of them. It's Nicole something, but it's called How to Do the Work. I'm pretty sure her name is Nicole. Really awesome book, like lots of really like relatable content, but also like actionable things that you can go through, which I really like. How to Do the Work, Nicole
LaPera. Nicole LaPera. I just googled that.
Really great book. She has an Instagram page as well, which is worth giving a follow. Maybe Ryan, if you could put that in the show notes. I really love. I think she's called the Holistic Psychologist on Instagram. So look her up if you are into reading. Okay. Her work's very relevant to, I guess, what we've spoken about today. And another book that I recommend to all my clients, and to anyone that's going through a challenging time, is The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. I first discovered her work probably about 6 years ago, when I was experiencing some challenges of my own back then. And it was just like this really nice, comforting, reassuring, supportive, nurturing book that just made me feel comfortable with where I was at and allowed me to let go of control and just trust that, you know, things will unfold in the way that they're meant to. And that was the message that I needed in that moment. And often a book will come up when you're, you know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's the saying. So if you're listening to this and the sound of these books resonates with you, it's probably a sign to go to the bookstore and buy them or download them on Audible. But I highly rate both of the books and both of the authors as well. Gabrielle Bernstein, she's amazing. I really, really love her work.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, no, that holistic psychologist, I do follow her actually. I didn't realize her name was that though. So yeah, a book recommendation from me as well. I might have mentioned this already on one of the last podcasts I've done, but it's have you read The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari by Robin Sharma?
Yeah, really good book. Yeah.
Phenomenal apps. So shout out to Tiff Sapan. She bought that for did she buy it for my birthday last year, or bought it for something anyway? And I've had it for a good few months, and I'm only now starting to read it, and I just absolutely love it. So it's a novel about obviously someone who is a big hotshot lawyer. You know, work is his life. He's lost like a lot of his connections and relationships and stuff. Burnt out, and has a heart attack, and just sacks it all off to go traveling to sort of go on the spiritual journey almost, and self-discovery journey. And I'm about halfway or a quarter of the way through the book now. But I find, that sort of resonated with me quite a lot. I think I was trying to be that person. And it was quite nice to just sort of, it was nice for me to personally to step back and to just spend more time, like, just doing the stuff that we love doing, which is being in nature and, connecting with other people, learning more about yourself and actually, the way your mind and your body's working, taking time for you and not trying to push yourself constantly to be this sort of overachiever. Because I think the way I look at it now is if I do that and I push and I push and I push and I push and become like, wildly successful or whatever, but then, I'm burnt out, stressed, my relationships have suffered, and I pass away in my 50s or 60s, I might be able to gain another 20, 30 years and get there anyway, or get there in the same sort of time anyway, by just sort of relaxing and just taking time to chill and getting, just kind of trying not to rush it, just allowing it to just happen naturally.
I guess it depends on your measure of success as well. Like, my measure is how happy, healthy, and peaceful I am, and therefore I am successful as right now. So if your measure of success is the car, the wealth, and all that lovely stuff, like, great. But I guess everyone has a different measure of success, and how that looks to them is different.
100%, yeah. No, and I'm glad you've brought that up actually, because but my measure of success was always how much money you've got, or the sort of like not I wouldn't say the possessions that and the Ferrari and stuff. I wouldn't say that is something that's always been my measure for success. But I think I think a lot of people have been through fallen into the same trap at one point. But I think society in general is just so focused on this capitalist idea of success, isn't it? In terms of having the house and the car and the money and the influence and all of that kind of stuff. And I it's not. But once you step back and you recognize, okay, well, if I'm healthy, if I'm doing things that I enjoy and I have a sense of freedom, and I'm also happy day to day, and I've got good people around me, my friends are happy as well, and I'm getting to see them quite often. You've got a sense of purpose or a sense of fulfillment within the work that you do, and the life that you live. I think when you start to value those things and think, okay, well, actually these things mean more to me than, I don't know, maybe like having these the car or anything like that. That's a sort of a sign of financial wealth. That's just one part of it, isn't it? It is just one part of success. But value it, choosing what you value out of those things is so important. So what was yours? Peace, happiness,
That's it.
and freedom.
What my values?
So peace, happiness, and freedom. You said your three are. Is that it?
Peace, growth, and health are my main ones. And then obviously happiness and freedom are definitely up there. But peace, health, and growth.
Awesome. And something you wanted to mention about as well is staying humble. Do you want to give more context to
Yeah,
that?
this has come up quite a lot for me lately. Thanks for bringing that up again. I forgot about that. I'm wondering if you'll relate to this anyway. It's just come up that, like, I have a lot of coach friends and people that work in our sector, and like we've obviously spent a lot of time and money on ourselves to be better for ourselves, but also to support our clients and to get our clients better outcomes. But I just always like to think, like, just stay humble. Like, we've done a lot of work, but it doesn't mean that we're any better than anyone else, or that we're any more worthy than anyone else, or that we are any more capable. Like, we have more tools to be more capable, but it doesn't mean that we're any better. And I just think, like, just stay humble. Don't, look down on people. The way that I like to work with clients in my business and in social work is like this. So for anyone that can't see and is listening, like, it's just working alongside people. So, like, how can I hold your hand and help you to get you to where you want to be? I don't ever want it to be that I'm working with clients or anyone from a place of me feeling like I'm above them. And I make that very clear with clients from the very first call. Like, it's never going to be a case of me imparting my knowledge onto you and telling you how to do things. Because a lot of people will come to me and say, like, oh, great, I can't wait for you to help me, or you're going to fix me. And it's never a case of me telling someone what to do. Like, I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to go through this together. I've just been noticing, like, a lot of almost like criticism or maybe a bit of judgment for people that don't know as much as people. And I just think, just stay humble. I remember reading this quote once: be careful who you shit on the way to the top, because you never know who you might meet on the way back down. And that really stuck with me. Like, really, really stuck with me. Like, just be kind, don't be judging, stay humble. Peace.
Yeah, no, that one I've heard before, and I love that one as well. I think there's a similar one, which is like, what is it? It's like I think it was like my father taught me to treat the janitor the same way you treat the CEO, or something along those lines. And I don't know if that's like quoted from a film or something like that, but I've seen that before, which was, treating somebody who cleans the toilets or cleans the floors the same way you treat the CEO, because at a fundamental they're both human. It's only their status, which is, or status and role within an organisation, which creates them or makes them any different. So yeah, no, I think that's such an important thing. 'Cause a lot of people do lose their way. I think that's something I try and practice quite a lot myself, actually. Now you've said it is, it is making sure that, I'm actually not trying to be this person that I'm not, or just, I think you can grow and you can adapt and you can become somebody new. And I think that's such an important thing to do. But at the same time, like, it's just having your roots dug in as well, isn't it? So that you're not, forgetting where you came from, and, the people that you surrounded yourself with and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and people are going through hard times. Like, everyone has struggles and challenges in their life, and I just don't think that there is any more space or capacity in this world for judgment or for making people feel inferior. I think what the world really needs is more, like, love and compassion and acceptance, and like, more hand holding, and, like, just, I think, like, there was a huge shift for me when I was able to look at people as vulnerable, traumatized children. you know, even if someone's behaving what would be generally perceived to be like disrespectfully or out of character, like the moment you can shift how you look at them, and if you can look at them as someone that has probably experienced childhood trauma or see them as that vulnerable, wounded child, it just allows you to like look at everyone a lot more compassionately, and it takes away the judgment as well. You never feel great after you judge someone.
No, you really don't. No, that's a good point. I mean, it's easy to get caught in that, isn't it? You know, judging other people or talking about other people. I think it's quite easy to do that. I'm guilty of it myself. I think, you know, it's fair to say everybody is. But yeah, I think recognizing that if you are judging somebody else or talking about somebody else in a negative way, even though like at the time it makes you feel maybe good about your own situation and yourself, it's gonna have that sort of subconscious negative impact on, you know, how you feel after that. I mean, I'm not sure if you've got a better way of wording it.
Brene Brown speaks a lot about shame and judgment. I really love her work. I'm not sure if anyone listening has ever come across Brene Brown, but she says that we choose to see in others what we fear being shamed for ourselves. It's basically like perception is projection. So like what you see in others, you know, you have the capacity to exist in you, and that's just how it is. So for example, if I'm saying like, oh, Ryan, you're so loud and annoying, it doesn't necessarily mean that I am loud and annoying. It means that I potentially fear being considered as loud and annoying. So whether I am or I'm not, I'm scared of being perceived as it. So I'm seeing that in you because I know there's potential for it to exist in me. So whenever I hear people judging people, and I, you know, obviously I've done it myself. It's an innate human experience. Like, it's to judge. It's a survival thing. We're all hardwired to judge within the first few seconds whether someone's a threat or not. But whenever I hear people doing it, like just, you know, for the sake of judging someone's appearance, for example, when I take a step back and look at it, look at who it is and what they're saying, I can always relate what they're saying to what I know about them and what I know their fears are. So I think in this instance, like, it's really important to apply self-awareness when you are judging someone, because you know it exists in you, or you know you have the capacity for it to exist in you. So apply compassion instead. So instead of saying Ryan's really loud and annoying, saying, oh, I must know that exists in me then. So, you know, I'm going to be compassionate here because, you know, I don't want to shame Ryan for something that I'm scared of being shamed for myself. And just keep it in. Just reserve the judgment.
I really like that. I've just made a note of that as well, because I'm gonna put this in the notes of the podcast actually about the you know, some of the stuff we've talked about. So the routine challenge thing as well, I'm going to put that in you, and the judgment as well. I think we're all guilty of it. Well, there was going to be something I was going to say then in relation to that. It might come back to me in a second now. But yeah, no, with that's the question. Yeah. So what is, in your opinion, what is the biggest or the best step that somebody can take to a better sense of life, or to approaching, you know, the life that they want to, you know, kind of look at living? So whether that's relating to their well-being, whether that's relating to their mindset and things like that. For you, what's the sort of like the main first step that somebody could take, or the main step in general, to just changing their life?
Really good question.
You can give me a few. You can give me a few things if you want. It doesn't have to be one.
I think the answer has to be, first of all, get a coach. I know that sounds cliche coming from a coach, but coaches have coaches. Like, if any other area of your life you wanted to focus on, for example, if you wanted to sort your teeth out, you'd go to the dentist. If you needed to lose some weight, you'd see a dietitian. If you needed to fix your car, you'd go to a mechanic. If you want to focus on improving your well-being, if you want to focus on shifting your mindset, if you want to make more healthier, supportive choices, and, you know, have a stronger sense of self-worth and self-esteem, like, find a coach that has already done all the work for you to talk you through it and to coach you through it. Because there's probably a coach for everything. Like, whatever you can think of, there will be someone that has already figured it out. that can coach you through it. So just like ask for help, get the support. Like there could be work that you could do in the space of 3 months that could change the whole course of the rest of your life. But if you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always got. So until you do something different and make a change, you're always going to get the same results. And I think the best and the quickest and fastest way is to have a coach or someone that can call you out on your shit. Sometimes like there's things that, I do a lot of work and I think I have shit figured out, but I'll speak to my coach and they'll call me out on something that I never would have even thought of. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, right, thank you. Like I needed that. I needed another perspective or a fresh pair of eyes to look at things objectively without the emotions that I have entangled in my life, and to go like, just call things out as they are. So I think a first bit of advice, if there is an area in your life that you really want to focus on, find a coach that specializes in it and access them. Like use them for help. Another huge thing that I think that really changed and shifted things for me personally is to express gratitude. I know we've already spoken about it, but what you focus on multiplies. And so if you can find things to be grateful for, you will naturally find that there are more things to be grateful for that show up in your life.
Okay, awesome. I like that. Yeah, it's interesting you said that as well about the coach thing, because I find that it could be a coach or it could be a mentor in general, isn't it? And I think we've got different mentors in different areas of our lives, or people that have like a certain type of influence over us. So like that could be a teacher, could be somebody within work, or like a manager in work, or like it could be somebody who is a coach. But I think it's somebody like you look up to as a form of teacher in some way, and actually, like you said, they're not afraid to call you on your shit, or when you're saying about I don't know, if you're just procrastinating on doing something, or even if doing what I do, which is trying to do like loads of different things, actually kind of saying, okay, why are you doing all this stuff? Do you actually enjoy all these things? How are these linked to your values or your passions? And are they going to align with your future and stuff? And that's something I've had to do, like a self-reflective thing with myself. I was kind of like, oh, hang on, that's what I would do if I was working with a client, so I'm going to do it with myself. And I think, like you said, it helps massively though to actually have that external person there to really do it, or and to just say the things that you might not think of, and then help you focus that, or shine a spotlight on the things that need to be changed or altered. So yeah, like a coach or a mentor makes a hell of a lot of sense. For someone starting out in gratitude, if we just like finish on this as well, so like what if they want to get started, what would you recommend? Like I know obviously getting a book and a pen and writing some stuff down, but is there any sort of prompts that you go for, or like any sort of ways in which to do it properly and get the most from it?
There's no right or wrong with it, first of all. Like I guess with journaling or with gratitude, like I think when people hear the word journaling, because it is thrown around quite a lot, it's like, oh God, like she journals, like what, like she must have this script that she writes every day. Like I haven't got a fucking clue what I'm gonna do every day. When I open my journal, I'm like, am I gonna write about how I feel today? Am I gonna write gratitudes today? But if you're talking specifically about gratitude, just start by writing 3 things that you're grateful for every day. You'll probably find that you'll write 5, 6, or 7 things, not just 3, because you'll be like, oh, I'm also really grateful for my dog, and my mattress is really comfy as well, and oh, that text that I received from them was really cute. Like you'll find that there'll be more than 3 things, but just set the intention to write 3 things every day. And I'd say either doing it in the morning or the night. Like if you can end your day on a positive, like how lovely is that? But if you can start your day with things that you're grateful for, that's probably going to set you up for the rest of the day. So that's why I do my gratitudes in the morning, and I do 10 every day, not 3, but start with 3. I guess 10 could be a little bit overwhelming. And another bit of advice would be maybe to pick a gratitude buddy or like a friend that will do it with you, and that you can send to each other for accountability. It's actually really cute. I've done that with a few different friends over the years. And like reading their gratitudes, it's like really heartwarming. You're like, oh, that's really cute. And like sometimes they'll put you as they're grateful, and then you like your little cup's all full. And so maybe finding a gratitude buddy or friend to do it with, because it really helps with accountability at the beginning before it becomes a habit.
Awesome. Love that. That's a really good one. Yeah, that's what accountability is the reason why a lot of us don't stick to stuff, isn't it? You know, it's that we try and hold ourselves accountable, but we also give ourselves, you know, little passes every now and again, and just not don't keep on top of it. So no, that's awesome. Is there anything you want to bring up or talk about while we're on the call? Anything that you want to that we haven't talked about already that you want to sort of get out there?
I think we've covered some very intense, awesome topics. I think I'm, yeah, I think I'm
We've got a
all
lot
talked
actually.
out. That was
I've just
great
made
conversation as
notes of
always. I
different
love how it
areas.
all flows.
I was going to say we've covered loads. Yeah, I've got like a little thing which I've been typing here, so like the different thing, like, I don't what you call it, clips or like timestamps. That's the word I'm looking for. And yeah, we've covered like a real mixed bag of stuff. So that's awesome. But I mean, if anybody wants to head across to your website, so it is what's the URL? Is it sarahmaxwell.blog?
Yeah.
That your is so yeah, sarahmaxwell.blog. That is your Instagram handle. You've also got your website on there for the coaching, for the self-care wheel. Is that what it's called? Or well-being wheel?
Oh yeah. So if anybody wants my self-care and well-being wheel, I've actually just incorporated that in a self-love and mindset workbook, which I have just released today. I've just sent out my first mail drop with that in it. So if anybody wants a copy of my workbook, I am giving it out for free. You can drop me a message on Instagram. I'll add you to my mailing list, and I will send those across to you next week when I do my second drop. I've put a lot of time and energy and effort into that workbook. I am giving it out for free. It does have heaps of value in there. So I want to share that with as many people as possible. So yeah, drop me a message, drop me an email. You can actually subscribe on my website as well. But yeah, I want this to reach as many people as possible because I know it's going to add tons and tons of value. So reach out and let me know if you would like a copy. Happy to share.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you. There we are. Yeah, I think we've covered everything. Yeah, you've given your socials as well. So yeah, sarahmaxwell.blog, website link. I'll put all of the book notes and the links to the wellbeing store, the workbook stuff and everything, so people can kind of get directed directly to you. I'll put that in the comments on YouTube and on the on the other platforms as well. But otherwise, it's absolutely delightful to see you again.
I know. Thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure to speak with you. It's just, yeah, it's like having a good chat with my good friend Ryan. I miss you so much, and thank you for your time. And I love how things always just flow between us. It's the best.
Yeah, fingers crossed as well. Well, at some point I'll be out there for everybody listening. I've applied for working holiday visa in Australia, so waiting to hear back on that. So fingers crossed that'll all that'll all go smoothly, and we might actually be able to do one in person then.
Oh my god, I literally can't wait for it to get here. It's going to happen. We've been manifesting this for years. You finally applied for the visa, and I cannot wait for it to come in. Fingers, toes, and everything crossed.
Yeah, I've got faith. It's going to happen. It will.
Okay,
Awesome.
friend.
Right, thank you very much.
So much.
Have a good night, and I will speak to you in a bit. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening. Bye.